Hello and welcome to Eric's Chase Grid Talk. Oh man, I'm eating some really good Cheez-Its right now. Yeah, that's good. That's what I do every day when I get home from school. I'll usually go to my pantry, get a box of Cheez-Its, grab a soda, usually Dr. Pepper, maybe a 7-Up, maybe a Coke, I don't know, usually Dr. Pepper. And I'll just plop my butt in front of the TV and watch whatever's on at the time. But not now, no. Now I grab all that crap and I brought it into my computer room here. And I'm now talking in front of a microphone while still drinking my drink. That's good stuff. Anyway, today is the 4th episode of the Chase Grid Talk now. The second episode that I'll be answering your questions like I said I do every Thursday. I'll also be previewing this week's race at New Hampshire here coming up in just a few days. So if you watched or listened to my last episode on Monday about Chicagoland, you'll know that Brad Keselowski won and Eric Almirola is probably eliminated. That's all you really need to know from that. I'll be completely honest. Whew. All right, well, I said I'd start with updates. There's nothing really to update you on. I'm just extremely busy. I got 3 video series going on right now. I never intended on doing this. I mean, I'm making E Cup Series, I'm making NASCAR parodies, and now I'm doing this Chase Grid Talk. I never thought... My whole goal, my whole life or not my whole life, but my goal the last few months at least on this YouTube stuff has been to kind of limit myself and only, not just, just kind of take a step back and maybe, cool down a little bit from making videos as often as I used to. And here I am releasing 3 videos a week pretty much, and I'm working on them pretty much every day. So I'm extremely busy, especially with homework and school and anything else that I want to do with my life. So I enjoy this, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. I guess I should tell you guys, I'm still going to be doing this show every week. I got a NASCAR parody video. I have nothing really planned for that right at the moment. I have a video that I've had planned now for like a month, and I've even recorded it. I just haven't really been able to film it or anything because it's a type of video that's going to take hours upon hours of work to make, and I'm still debating right now. I don't really have the time to work on it right now, and even if I did, I'm still kind of debating whether or not it's even worth it at this point, because I think it'll be really cool if I did make this video, but honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about, like, is it really worth it? I don't know. I'm still finishing up E Cup Series Race 5. I think that'll be up by tomorrow, and I guess that's about it. So... yeah, I just need another drink right here. Still trying to wake up from this morning. I know it's afternoon by now, but I'm already tired. All right, well, I guess I'll just jump right into your questions. I asked you guys to post comments or questions on the last video for Monday, and I got a handful right here. I'm going to jump right into them. First one I have here is from LTCS Racing, and he asks, do you think David Ragan will replace Marcos Ambrose in the 9 next year? Well... I don't know, actually. That if you guys didn't know, Marcos Ambrose did announce a few days ago that he would be leaving Richard Petty Motorsports at the end of this season, and we actually found out where his sponsors are going. I'll get into that here in a second. But to answer your question, do I think David Ragan will replace Ambrose? I really don't know. I kind of hope David Ragan does because I like David Ragan. I feel like he doesn't really deserve to drive around in that 34 car every week and just finish 20th because I think he's a better driver than that. We saw when he was with Roush Fenway and they were still good, and he was driving that 6 car and he would get top 10s. He was he's not a chase contender, but he was a threat to possibly make the chase every year. He even got a win, I remember, at Daytona. I feel like I think he's a good driver. I think if you get him in the right equipment, he can do good. I think he can be a chase contender. So I hope he's in the 9 car because I think that's better than the situation he's in now. But I honestly really have no speculation. I really don't have any idea who's going to be in the 9 at this point. Like I said about the sponsors, though, Stanley and DeWalt, who sponsored Marcos Ambrose for the last few years, they announced a while back that they weren't going to be returning for Ambrose to sponsor, and that kind of tipped people off to think, oh, Ambrose probably won't be returning to Richard Petty Motorsports if his sponsor isn't. But those two, Stanley, they announced where they'll be next year. They've moved over to Joe Gibbs Racing. Stanley is going to be sponsoring Carl Edwards in the 19 car next year for 12 races, and DeWalt is sponsoring Matt Kenseth in the 20 for 6 races. And if you already know, DeWalt and Matt Kenseth have quite a history together. They were the primary sponsor on Kenseth's Cup car basically from 2000 to 2009, pretty much since Kenseth joined the Cup Series. even until 2009, I believe, was the last year that they were with him, and they've been so. Kenseth, we're used to seeing Kenseth in yellow and black, and now he's going to continue with that DeWalt paint scheme, which is pretty interesting. So I guess that answers your question. Let's see, what's another question? Here we go. Here's one from, I guess it's pronounced Jaden Smith. I don't know, Jaden or Jaden Smith. JJ Series. There has been a lot of news about Chase Elliott coming into the Sprint Cup Series in 2016. They say Jeff Gordon is going to retire or Casey Kane is leaving. What do you think? I think Casey will leave. Just because he has not done really anything since he came in. Yeah, he won a few races, but other than that, nothing. What is your opinion? Well, I don't know. Chase Elliott obviously is going to be in the Sprint Cup Series within the next year or two. I'm surprised they didn't start him in any. I guess not. I'm not surprised that they didn't start him at any races this year. He's only he's so young. But I would not be surprised if next year he gets a handful of starts in some car. Don't know where, don't know how. And that's kind of what we're getting into with this question is, do you think he's going to replace Casey Kane? And I don't know. I don't agree with the whole Casey Kane is leaving. I don't. He says. I feel like. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I agree. Casey Kane hasn't been the greatest driver, but I feel like he's better than you're giving him credit for. I mean, yeah, that really is. I mean, when you ask, he's all he's really done. He hasn't really done anything but win a few races. That's true. He hasn't won that many races. He doesn't win. He's not really been a championship threat ever. But you got to look at it in this way. Casey Kane is not going anywhere. Hendrick, I feel like he is the worst of the Hendrick 4, but that whole Hendrick team is so good. They all have a threat. They're all threats to win the championship every year. All 4 of them, even Casey Kane. And so no, I don't think Casey Kane's going to leave. If now I don't know. I may be misunderstanding the question. Maybe you're not saying that Kane's just going to leave, like he's going to be out of NASCAR or just like out of whatever. Just the way you say it, I don't know if that's what you mean. Maybe you mean that you think Kane's going to leave Hendrick and go somewhere else to a different race team. That maybe could happen. I could believe that. Jeff Gordon, he's not retiring in 2 years. I don't care what he says. I feel like Jeff Gordon, he's right now. Honestly, this is gonna sound dumb, but he's almost at his peak now. I feel like. This is literally one of the most competitive I've seen him. I think he's been really in a long time. I mean, I think in the 90s he was definitely better, but since 2001, in the last decade, this is the best he's been. So I don't understand why he'd really decide to quit and retire now. I mean, 2 years from now, because you said 2016 in the question, right? Yeah. In 2016, who knows? Nobody knows how next year could go. But, I mean, I'd be surprised if Jeff Gordon left. So then that asked the question, where will Chase Elliott go? I mean, if he joins the Sprint Cup Series, is another team going to find another spot? Like Joe Gibbs Racing just introduced a 4th team. Is somebody else going to introduce another team? Michael Waltrip Racing. I guess he drives for Junior Motorsports in the Nationwide Series, so definitely Hendrick would probably be the way to look. But unless they do somehow Kane switches to a different team or Gordon does retire somehow, I mean, I don't know where Chase Elliott's going to go. But I'm looking forward to seeing Chase Elliott in the Sprint Cup Series. I feel like everyone's made a big deal about Kyle Larson this year, rightly so. Kyle Larson's been very good this year, and considering how young he is and how little experience he has in a stock car, I gotta say that he's done some pretty impressive stuff. Almost won the race last weekend. I feel like Chase Elliott's gonna be just as good, possibly even better. I don't even know. I feel like Chase Elliott, though, I've seen what he's done in the Cup Series. He's competed. He's been able to hang with Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick, some of the best of them. And I think that Chase Elliott's definitely going to have a real shot at becoming a NASCAR. I don't know if I shouldn't say NASCAR legend, but definitely a NASCAR star in the sense that he will win a lot of races, and I think he'll be very competitive. Sorry. Next question I have here is from Brownfire Wood. Who do you think will have the upper hand for the 1.5-mile tracks? I should have read more of these questions beforehand. I really didn't look at very many of these questions, so I don't really have very good answers formulated. Who has the best upper hand at the 1.5-mile tracks? I don't know. I obviously, if you know, looking at the chase, it's 10 races. 5 of them are at 1.5-mile tracks. Now, they are pretty different 1.5-mile tracks. Like Texas is not very similar to Chicagoland, and Homestead's a completely different kind of track altogether. So, I mean, they're not really that similar, but they are all 1.5-mile tracks, so they do share relation in that sense. So who has the upper hand, in my opinion? I gotta say, honestly, it's going to be the guys that have been the best all year. I think Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, all those guys, the Penske guys, the Hendrick guys, and I'll throw some of the Gibbs guys in there. They've run pretty well. The mile-and-a-half tracks, I feel like that they may take up most of NASCAR's circuit. A lot of the tracks are mile-and-a-half tracks, and you just can see Logano won at Texas earlier this year, so they've clearly showed speed. You saw Keselowski win at Chicagoland last week, so obviously I think the Penske guys have been fast. Hendrick cars are good pretty much everywhere we go. I mean, they're never bad. The Gibbs cars, the one interesting stat I learned going into last week was that Matt Kenseth actually leads all drivers in most points earned on mile-and-a-half racetracks this year. Even though he hasn't won, he's gotten pretty much a bunch of top 10s and a bunch of top 5s at mile-and-a-half racetracks, that he actually leads the series in most points earned at those tracks this year. So that's what I'm saying. Some of the Gibbs cars might actually be okay as well. You saw they all ran in the top 10 at Chicagoland last weekend, so I definitely wouldn't throw them out of it. Harvick's the other guy. He out of Stewart-Haas. That he's been also really strong pretty much everywhere we've gone. So definitely wouldn't put him out of the mix either. Let's see. I actually got a lot more questions on this episode than I did on the first one, and I do apologize. I am skipping over a few of them because a few of them are just kind of unrelated. I suppose. A lot of these questions also I've already answered. Like I'm looking at one asking about is Jeff Gordon the favorite or is somebody else better. I've already established I feel like Jeff Gordon is the favorite at this point, but I think Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick are going to be right there. A lot of these other questions are, what's your opinion on Chase Elliott? I've answered that. Here's a good one from Earnhardt SquarePants. That's a good name. I like that name, Earnhardt SquarePants. Okay. He asks, out of all the active NASCAR drivers without a championship, who do you think will win one first? He says, or in my opinion, probably Earnhardt or Kevin Harvick. And I'd say you're probably right. I think Keselowski has a championship, so he doesn't count. Like I've said this year, Kevin Harvick is probably the third highest favorite to win the title. So I definitely give him a really good shot. But in my opinion, I feel like Dale Earnhardt Jr. is probably the fourth or fifth best option for the title this year. So I think I'd honestly give both those drivers, Jr. and Harvick, a really good shot at winning the title this year. I don't know that either of them will. I'm not picking either of them to win, but I definitely feel like they have a good shot. And I'm thinking about everyone else who doesn't have a title yet, like notable ones like Joey Logano or Carl Edwards, guys like that, Ryan Newman. It's harder than I thought to think of these kind of guys. A lot of those drivers. Oh, Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is another one. He's the only guy I'd throw into the mix. I feel like, especially this year. I feel like Harvick and Jr. are serious favorites of winning the championship. But Kyle Busch, in my opinion, I feel like I am surprised he has not won a title. I'm not. I understand why he hasn't won a title because he makes a lot of bonehead mistakes, and he's kind of, like I've said in a previous episode, he's a streaky driver in the sense that if he gets on a bad run, it's going to be a bad run for a while. But so he's not consistent enough to win a title. But with this new chase, I don't feel like consistency is quite as important necessarily than it was. So Kyle Busch, definitely, I feel like he's another guy you could look for in the next couple of years to win a title. But what you said, you basically answered the question for me. Junior and Harvick, clearly, I think two of the favorites that don't have titles to win titles. Oh, this is the same question. Why did it show up twice? This question here. I just answered that. Do you think Kyle Busch could win the championship? He could. I don't think he will this year, but I'd say he has a shot later on. And that's really all the questions that are interesting. No offense again. Not that. Okay, here, I'll finish it up with this is my last question I'll have. This is from Dimitri Mondros. His question is, Talladega is obviously the wild card race. It is also the last race of the second round. Do you think any underdog drivers could sneak into round 3? If so, who would they be? Well, the important thing that you mentioned there is that Talladega is in the second round. So in order to get to Talladega, you basically have to advance through the first round. So I feel like after this first round, though, a lot of the underdogs will be eliminated, like Allmendinger and Almirola. I feel like they're going to both be out, and I'd even say Biffle's probably going to be out. But of the underdogs that I think have a good chance of making it to the second round, I feel like ones that really could possibly benefit from this are guys like Kurt Busch. I feel like Kurt Busch is one of those guys, and I know this is weird to say because I don't know, Kurt Busch, he doesn't strike me immediately as the greatest plate racer, but a guy like Kurt Busch, who his car this year really has never been a dominant car. He's never had one of those races where he's clearly been just above everyone else. I feel like a place like Talladega, if he could go out there, not even win the race, but get a top 5, that would be huge for him. And I think you're right in saying that Talladega is the wild card race. It clearly is. Anything can happen. We saw last year this happened. Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson were basically running away with the point standings, and then they both had kind of average, not so great days at Talladega, and that led other guys like Jeff Gordon and Kyle Busch back into the chase hunt. That happened last year, and it's just anything can really happen at Talladega. It really is all it comes down to. I feel like Carl Edwards is gonna be another guy that's really banking on hoping that he can maybe secure a win there, because like I said, those Roush cars just are not up to par with a lot of the other guys. I think the Gibbs cars, they've been always good at plate tracks. They've been good at Talladega. Hamlin won there earlier this year, so I think if Busch, Kenseth, or Hamlin want to try and sneak in, because I think those 3 guys, the Gibbs cars, there's a chance they might all get eliminated in that second round. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they all advanced. So who really knows in the end? I'd look to Talladega as being the type of track where a non-chaser could easily win the race. I would not be surprised if Kyle Larson or if even Austin Dillon or Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a young driver like that, snuck in and won it, or anything like that, or even Allmendinger or Almirola, even if they're out of the race already, or out of the chase already, they might still win Talladega. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. We saw how well Almirola ran at Daytona in July, so it's definitely it's not unbelievable for that to happen. So, I really have no there's no way to really make a prediction about Talladega, because I don't think anyone really 100% knows what to expect, and I think that is definitely the biggest wild card of this whole chase, is getting through that race and making it, and you don't even have to win. A lot of the guys are going to go into Talladega. I've read it in interviews. They're all terrified of that round, because you got Kansas as another race in that round that a lot of people know can be kind of a wreck fest sometimes. So a lot of people are unsure about that race, but sure about Talladega. So the second round is going to be, in my opinion, probably the most interesting round to watch in terms of who advances and who doesn't. That's the one where we might see we might see Jimmy Johnson or even Brad Keselowski or Jeff Gordon get knocked out just because of crazy out of their control circumstances that might happen in that round. I would not be that surprised. So definitely the second round is going to be the one to look for. I'm calling them the second round, first round, third round, because I don't remember what they're called. The Challenger round, the Eliminator round. I don't even know what the second one is called. The Fighting round. I don't even know what they're called. I gotta look it up. There's the Championship or something, I think. I don't know what any of these rounds are called. Anyway, I guess that's my show. That's all the questions that I'm gonna answer, because I'm lazy and I got other things to do. Like I said, I gotta go finish editing race 5 so I can have that ready for you guys tomorrow, because I got a lot of other crap I gotta do. So thanks for listening or watching. I hope you weren't staring at this screen for as long as I've been, because I've literally just been staring at my blank computer screen for the last 20 minutes while I talk into a microphone. I'm losing my mind. Check out my other Chase Grid Talk videos if you haven't. If you want to keep up. If you don't want to keep up, that's fine, I guess. I'm sarcastically saying this because it's definitely not fine. Don't watch them out of order. How dare you? Listen to them in order as they come, and you can keep up to date with everything that we talk about in this series. That's all I have for you guys, I guess. I'll probably think about something that I meant to say after I finish, and I hate it when that happens, because I can't go back and change what I said. Sorry to make this a really dramatic exit. I'm just really stuffed full of Cheez-Its right now. Oh, goodness. All right, I need to go fix that. See you guys later.